We knew from all of the work at the authority that South Cove was to be a unique place within all of the authority. Unique because it was associated with the residential area of Battery Park City, as opposed to other places that I would say more commercial, had more civic programs. And of course, it had this mandate to bring together a multidisciplinary team, including artists, to conceive and design the park. We knew was rare. I would describe the design as being motivated by a number of specific site conditions that we knew were unique to this artificial constructed landform that was called South Cove. It was to engage people with the water. It was to be a more intimate place for families and people living in the area to go to. And so the design incorporates qualities of a natural cove from its topography and its dune landforms. The way vegetation is highly limited along the exposed shore and then gets richer as you move away from the water. It was really just a very exciting design process. Mary was very strong about that the park emphasized experience, that it was above all to be a great experience for people. And she thought that the primary way to do that would be through connecting people closer to the level of the water. And we agreed with that. We also talked about how we wanted to dissolve and break down that arbitrary constructed edge of South Cove. And the scheme does that through its topography, through its use of rock and stone, the lower walk and the piers, the articulation of the edge, reaching out into the water, all begin to break down what was just a very harsh cutout along the river. Plant materials, or the plants that were used, and I always, cherish this about Susan Child because she had a great knowledge of plants, but she also had this way of using only 3 or 4 plants in the most powerful of ways and having them do so much work and create so much character to a place through really a limited palette. And I think that was true at South Cove as well. It's largely those plants that we knew would be resilient, that we knew this place was going to be inundated with salt water. It was going to have blasts of salt spray, huge winds. And so the palette of those things that can withstand those natural conditions were the ones that we fastened onto. And so it's largely beach grass, beach rose, bayberry, beach plum, and then the locust grove, which is a very tolerant tree. And so South Cove has endured a lot in these last 30 years, and it has absolutely survived beautifully as a result. It's a completely manufactured park, its own structure, all of it. And so we had engaged a soil scientist who was really at the top of his game, Phil Krall, to engineer these soils over structure. And I think it's a real testament to his knowledge and theory that South Cove has endured so many storms and pretty terrible conditions. It's also the result of a beautiful maintenance regime that only the authority was able to, I guess, afford and put into place. But the point is they valued maintenance greatly, and it has been cared for over the years. The challenge that we are facing with sea level rise is paramount, I would say, for that edge of the Hudson River. What I have enjoyed and valued is how South Cove has endured all of that inundation. And the challenge right now, of course, is not so much about whether the park can survive that kind of condition. It's about protecting the city that's further inland. I think South Cove represents a practitioner, in the case of Susan Child, who believed in design as being rooted in ecological systems and cultural systems, that if South Cove could create a place for people where they would feel this connection to the river, remoteness from the city, through the evocation of certain coastal landscapes, that a very special thing would have been achieved. And I think experientially that is what happens as you walk the length of Battery Park City today. I mean, I think Susan's body of work extends across a number of typologies. There's other civic work, urban design work. There's a lot of institutional work. There's preservation work and a lot of important residential work. But I think South Cove, certainly in the oeuvre of her civic work, stands as the most important work. But I would say South Cove is the most important work out of all of the work.